My house, a pair at my office, a pair. Hey.
Hey, how's it going, Martin?
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it was May, so like, there was a couple days that were nice.
Okay, you're live.
Very honest right now. What else we can do?
I think we can start.
So yeah, I guess we can get started. It's a work session, so we don't really have an agenda, nothing to approve, no minutes from anything, so I guess we have, well, we have Link and Maureen, right? That's who we have here today?
Yeah.
All right, who do you want to start with? Maureen, you were here first. If you want to go first, you certainly can.
Well, as someone said this afternoon, I think it was you, Lexi, about, well, you asked these organizations to come, but do they actually know what they're coming for? What are you going to ask? I had sent Wade, I think I sent the commissioners, I don't know if Martin saw it, he asked me to send him his thoughts, so I sent him a couple-page summation of what I thought. I went over the 2011 master plan, and also that section there that HMD wrote about the agricultural guidelines. And so I gave him my thoughts on that, and they're kind of spread out, saying, I was looking at the whole picture of the town, because when I think of Poolesville, I live in Barnesville, I look at it as 3 geographical locations, starting from the elementary school, going east, you know, to the boundary, and then CVS to here and Willards, and then the historical part, well, which is the more maintained historical part, is from the John Poole House, the Town Hall, and David Terrio's now Stevens House, down to towards the White's Ferry. And so looking at all of those areas, I thought that, you know, according to, now the guidelines that were in, especially the ones about streetscape and architectural designs, what was drawn up in 2011 by HMD. And of course, a lot of them talked about, you know, the architectural designs, the house, the roof lines, the streetscapes, the windows, how far a building should be back from the road. And here again, when you're dealing with a lot of businesses, it's hard for them. They have to square up with, can I have this, you know, Georgian-style house, but I also have to have room for my customers, to mix both of that in. And I think that in the last 10 years, the town has done a very credible job trying to work with the guidelines, but also having to realistically work with the businesses here and keep the economic flow going. And as far as the historical area in the end of town, here again, I thank the town and the commissioners for all the help they've given us in the past number of years, because for quite a while there, HMD and the town didn't necessarily get along that well, to put it mildly, and it was just in the past number of years that we've tried to work together and tried to have more events. You know, people might complain, well, why isn't open more often? Why don't you have more events? It basically comes down to people, lack of personnel. So many organizations now, be it the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, young families, all of their time and money go to their children, their houses. It's hard to get volunteers. So we've been trying the past couple of years, putting more events on at the John Poole House and the Old Town Hall. And also, of course, our biggest success story is the Seneca Schoolhouse, which, you know, before COVID, we would have over 3,000 children a year come there. It's a wonderful program, and it's not really in downtown Poolesville, but it's still part of Poolesville. So I think now David Terry and I have been talking a lot about, you know, once we get back into the flow of things from COVID, of having more programs together there and getting the community more involved again. Here again, it's a tough road to hoe to try to get. A lot of young people don't care about history anymore. I hate to say that, but it's true. And I think that, you know, Poolesville is just not some town off 270 like Clarksburg or whatever. And this is what I keep emphasizing when I used to come and beg for money from the commissioners, that, you know, we have to play up the historical, rich history of what Poolesville has. And HMD is trying to do their part with their 3 properties And David's trying to do the same thing too, because that end of town, it's not, this you consider the commercial part, I believe. There are businesses down there, but that is where, I think there's 18 homes that were listed in that comprehensive plan in 2011, and they're on Elgin Road, West Willard, or Fisher Avenue. Some of them, a lot of them are privately owned. Some of them are kept up, some of them are not kept up. And I know that the town doesn't have the authority to say, well, you have to do this, you have to do that. HMD tries to keep our property up, but it's still a struggle because we have to rely on donations. But also our biggest stumbling block is that once you accept money, grant money from Maryland Historical Trust, you are totally beholden to them. It took me 2 years to get those little lights in front of the John Poole House, which illuminated. It's very difficult. So a lot of the older homes that are privately owned, I don't know if they can afford it or not, but some of them are not being kept up, which is their business. And I know my daughter lives in London. I travel there a lot, like I did before COVID. And if I walked all around the different neighborhoods, every little area, it'll just be in some side street, has a wonderful little plaque there. I remember on Christine Street, it says, John Osborne lived here, the playwright from 18-something. It'd be nice if the 18 other properties in town that are historic could have a nice plaque in front of their building. This is a small thing, but I think it could add to, if you have a walking tour, we're trying to have more walking tours, to have that to play up the historical aspect of the town. And so in looking at the comprehensive plan for the next 5 to 10 years, I would like to see, well, first of all, as far as the guidelines architecturally, if there are going to be any changes to existing buildings or new buildings being built, I would like to see as much as possible that they conform to the historical architectural designs. I know it's not always possible, but at least to try. And then at least to have that end of town there have more emphasis on it, as it's not the only historical part of town, but it's the most compact, I think. And this is what I'd like to see the town, and they've been doing it, really work with HMD and David Terrio to emphasize the historical aspects of the town of Poolesville.
When you looked at the architectural guidelines that were in the master plan, comprehensive plan, those don't seem to need to be any changes made? You like what you've seen in there?
Well, a lot of them say like the front footage, how close the shop has to in front of the street, and also recommended that it would be preferable, and they really recommended that all parking be in the back. Well, that's not true in all cases, and I know sometimes that's not possible to do. So and that's a done deal. You can't change that. You can't change that. And as far as the streetscape, I know you've been working on it for a number of years now, the streetscape, and I looked at all the different plans on that as far as more greenery on the streets or more historical looking lights. Because it's interesting, if you come down the steps of the old town hall, and if you look straight out to the intersection where Bassett's is, what's that? That's West Willard, Elgin. Is that what? Elgin. And Fisher Avenue. HMD owns a strip of land there. It's a pyramid, bottom of the steps, and it slightly narrows till you get to the intersection. We own that. And David had mentioned me one time recently, Maureen, wouldn't it be great if you put a park there? So first of all, I can't imagine what a traffic nightmare that we create. If suddenly you come up there and there's this pyramid, and he said, Maureen, you can put benches there and trees. I said, but what about the traffic? It'll just destroy it. But that was just my opinion. So that's a little thing that we have there. And so I think if you could, streetscape-wise, just try to continue what you're doing, putting in more vegetation or parks and benches, and as much as you can within the traffic confines.
Makes sense.
So to what you said, just as a side note,
it seems to me we're gonna have to revise the streetscape a little bit and. What? I can't hear you. Sorry, it's been a while. We're gonna have to revise the streetscape a little bit to sort of like address David Terrio's place, because it seems to me it's very busy now. It's gonna get busier.
Right.
And there's like a weird situation trying to turn left out of there with the old town hall, and you can't see. So something's gonna have to happen there. Like,
Yes.
probably nothing radical, but you know, we have a good engineer over here, so he can.
I always made a left turn coming out of there to go left from the town hall. And my husband said a few weeks ago, Maureen, don't you see the sign? It says no left turn. Well, I never noticed it. But that can be very tricky getting out of there.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you can change it. I mean, having Jeff Welsh's house in the town hall right there, it kind of puts a
Yeah.
blind spot there, doesn't it?
We'll have to figure something out. And the other thing I was going to tell you, you mentioned signage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we haven't approved any signs in front of homes or anything, but we have approved, I don't know if you've heard about this or read about this, but signs when you come into the historical district
Oh, right,
identifying.
yeah, you discussed, I remember discussing that.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
they've been ordered
That's
and,
good.
you know, probably will be up relatively soon, wouldn't you think, John?
I would think as soon as they come.
Yeah, so that's kind of a neat thing that people will now know coming through town that, you know, it's actually on the historic registry and all that.
And I think that, I'll just make my last comment here, I won't be too long. I do think that Poolesville is doing the good fight, because we have a house down St. Michael's, have for 30 years now. And, you know, I don't know if you've been there recently. St. Michael's was lucky. The British tried to burn their town down, but they couldn't. But unfortunately, Poolesville had a lot of their beautiful old homes in the street were burnt in the fire, weren't they? So you don't have the access to having shops, like a barber shop in this beautiful old home, like the ice cream store in St. Michael's. It's a beautiful old home up and down the street. And also, I noticed all of the front footage, as the 2011 master plan said, had to be right on the front, not, and no, in the parking in the back. But that's just an example. But here again, you know, you have to do the best you can with what you have. And I congratulate the town of Poolesville for doing the best they can. So,
Well, thank you. I think the cooperation that I've seen since I've been on the planning commission between the HMD and the town's been pretty impressive. I think it's been a
well,
good
we've all worked
relationship.
together, and it's very much appreciated.
Yeah,
Okay?
both ways. Thank you.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Thanks, Maureen.
Hey, how are you? You guys don't have too many meetings anymore, so. Okay. I always follow the orders of the commission chairman, whoever it is.
You don't like these paper copies?
1 second. Okay, good.
So I'm gonna take notes, but are you gonna read verbatim or should I?
No. I worked in Congress for a long time, and I learned long ago that you don't use the written statement. You always do an oral summation, so that's what I'm going to do.
Perfect. You want to start with that, with your oral summation?
Yeah, that'd be
All right.
good. So I sent you, as you hopefully got, a pretty detailed written statement as well as some attachments. Those came, just so you know, a lot of that came from work of the Fair Access Committee, but they do support a lot of the points that I made in my statement. As my statement said, master plans help drive a town's progress and help shape its future, and the vision statement, to me, is one of the most important parts of that master plan. Our robust park system, streetscape plan, and Wheeling Commons, among other things, were spurred, in some cases, directly by master plans and the vision statement. I reviewed the 2011 master plan again to remind me where we were a decade ago in our thinking, and there are some very good ideas and concepts in the plan, including the focus on the high school, which actually has paid off, and the importance of the ag reserve in the town's planning. Where I think our vision statements of the recent past have come up a little short, though.
Hang on. Sorry about that.
Sorry, I had to back up.
Oh, okay. Hey, Wade.
What if a third person comes and starts talking?
How you doing? Jay?
Yes.
Good?
Perfect.
All right. Where I think our vision statements of the recent past have come up short is that they have focused on what we want the town itself to be and look like, and not on who we want to be as a community and how we become better as a community in addressing the needs of all the citizens who live here. And just as importantly, and this is one of the learnings I've had from the Fair Access Committee, is those who live in the Western County and are a part of our larger community and are vital actually to our town's success. While we discuss keeping the small town flavor of our town in the master plan, and actually in previous master plans that was also a theme, what really that means for people who live here is not as well developed as it should be in my view. It should not just mean remaining small in population size, although that's important. Making the lives of those who love the small town and rural nature of the area more enriched, and supporting those who live here who are financially insecure or unable to access any of the services would truly make the small town life complete for everyone. For example, the master plan says almost nothing about the African American communities that thrived all around Poolesville in the decades past and helped it prosper. The C&O Canal and the ferries that linked to it in the past and helped farmers get their grain to markets downriver is not only vital to us economically, but the living history represented by the ferry represents an opportunity to work with the Park Service, which runs the C&O Canal, and ways to promote the history of the agriculture community that built Poolesville, and also make Poolesville much more of a one of the C&O Canal towns that's you are now a part of, I think. Virtually all the focus of the plan is on historical preservation and tourism within the town. We should reconsider that approach in the next master plan. I think a strong focus on what I call people infrastructure should be a vital part of the next master plan. And again, a lot of these learnings are things that I've come across as we in the Fair Access Committee have pursued some of the issues we've been working on. First, a community center. Once we have a community center, we will need a focus in town government on how to promote programming at the center. Not all of it has to be done by government. That is not at all the intent of a community center. I visited one of these centers in the county with the Fair Access Committee, and we spent several hours there, and I did a lot of research about what makes them tick. What really makes them viable and enriching is the fact that they attract a lot of local nonprofit groups, artists, experts, and businesses to offer programming of various kinds. So what they really do is stimulate a lot of community activity and innovation in ways that wasn't possible without a center like that. We do have a very active, as you know, PASC right now. But if you talk to them, they can't store equipment. They can't store like weights and exercise equipment. They can't store art equipment. So they need a place like that. A community center makes that possible for everything from seniors to mentoring programs for youth, which is another program that we, I think, need. Second, a clinic or facilitated telemedicine center. If you need to know more about that, I worked on facilitated telemedicine when I was in Verizon my last 5 years there, and it's a very excellent way to provide access to specialists without having to take people down to Germantown or Rockville or places like that, where I used to drive them when I was the WUMCO transportation director. Third, a student wellness center at the high school. And again, I can explain more what the wellness center does, but it's vital to student health and mental well-being. Fourth, covering the swimming pool so it can be used year-round. To me, that's the one major county facility we have here besides schools, and it's only used 4 months out of the year. It's crazy. And it's not just for swimming meets. It's for, if you go down to this Germantown, and you probably have swimming center, you'll see a lot of seniors groups use it for exercise programs, for people recovering from injuries, people using for exercise daily. It's used for a lot of things besides just swimming. Adopting a human rights proclamation for the town, a vision statement about who we want to be. And I've drafted up a model of that, again, in one of the attachments, you'll see that. One of the things that helps promote is other kinds of programs, like historical programs and programs on culture. If you follow that statement, you'll see that it actually promotes those kinds of ideas, and again, will promote, I think, connections to groups that we traditionally have not been working with as much as I would like to see us in the future. And finally, finishing the Streetscape plan. I don't think I need to go into detail on that, but I think one of the things I would point out is that the roundabout where that was going to be located, I think that piece of property there could have a great opportunity to do something vital to make this a welcoming opportunity when people come into town. For example, a community center could be located there rather than at the school. It would be a great location for it, a great way to welcome people to the town, and very accessible to people in the town. So, to conclude, the impact of implementing these ideas on diversity, socioeconomic development, and just as importantly in the environment, which I think is really kind of ignored sometimes when we look at these services, they really do promote a much better environment. Why? Because you don't have to drive all over the place to get to various things. You don't have to park in big parking lots, those kinds of things. A recent statement by Casey Anderson of the county's planning commission made exactly these points. He talked about delivering what they call 15-minute communities throughout the county. He specifically pointed to Poolesville and said that even though it is out of the growth footprint, a more complete set of amenities, infrastructure, and services that reduces the need to drive everywhere, reduces the environmental impact, and increases the deliverability of services and the attractiveness of these areas to vital diversity and socioeconomic development is an important part of why 15-minute communities are important. And what he meant by 15-minute communities are the fact that you do have access to a community center within a 15-minute drive. You do have access to a senior center, a clinic in many cases, those kinds of things. We can do more to make the small town goal of our many master plans mean a better, more enriching, more environmentally sound life for everyone. Thank you.
Fantastic. You've got a lot, it's very well summarized, and you've got a lot of good information, even with the past almost week of being able to read through this. You know, still got, I don't have any good questions for you.
That's fine.
Just thank you. And not to close this, but both you and Maureen, this is just the first step, right? We're gonna be reaching back out, and if you guys come up with anything that we don't touch on tonight, or, just send it along, and when we start putting things together, we'll reconvene again and make sure we're inclusive of what we need to be doing.
One observation from when I was a planning commissioner, I was a planning commissioner for three different times, and we tried different means to get citizen input, including testimony, which obviously is an important step. We also tried surveys, and honestly, surveys of citizens have minimal value, not because citizens don't have opinions that are worth listening to. It's because they don't really think deeply on a regular basis about this. So when you ask them, what's the most important thing in town, for example, most times people will say something pretty much off the top of their head, like most cases they'll say a grocery store or something like that. You won't get a lot of deep understanding of what is at the root of some of their concerns. We used a charrette. It's more like a guided discussion, I guess we did, but that was actually pretty helpful. We got a bunch of business people and local citizens, and we had a guided discussion, and Wade was there for that. It was very, I thought, helpful, because you got 4 or 5 hours with people, and you could say, well, what do you mean by that? I mean, is that really just all you're talking about? No, what I mean is this. You start getting a lot more depth in the input. So I would recommend that. Right? Not that a survey isn't helpful, but I think that adds a lot more.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what we're trying to do with this, inviting different community leaders in to talk so we can just shed back and forth ideas.
Yeah.
Is the general population and citizens of Poolesville, are they invited to these meetings?
Open meetings, yep.
They're open.
But I don't think they're invited physically to these work sessions.
Oh, yeah, it's all open.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah.
I thought it was only online, but they're allowed to come in too? Yeah. There's no public comment for these, that's what the difference is. Right.
Right.
It would be nice to have,
We talked about stress, haven't we?
Yeah.
But that's farther down the line.
Feels
But
like
I think Link's right. That's a good way to do it. And we've done that with like Streetscape and some
Right.
other things. So
and I think this is a good time to share, like, pipe dreams, like Link is sharing, oh, we need a community center, we need a roof on the pool and stuff. And, like, I would like to see a dedicated bike trail somewhere from the canal to Poolesville. No, I think that would bring in.
No, it would be a good idea.
elevated over the.
Yeah. Maybe you could take, I don't know if they have right away on, why am I drawing a blank? Edwards Ferry or Hughes Road or, I don't know. Make a lane, that's.
for sure.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you
Appreciate
very
the
much,
opportunity.
Link.
Thanks.
Is that our mic's doing that? So we got, Wade, you have some proposals you want to talk about?
Yes, everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so yes, we did receive 2 proposals. And I wasn't really surprised by that. I had talking to actually 3 different companies that were thinking of submitting, but only 2 did. And they said typically when they go out to different municipalities and submit proposals, that only 1 or 2, maybe 3 people show up for it. So we got 2, Mead and Hunt and Wallace Montgomery, both very qualified firms. And I think everybody's probably had the opportunity to go ahead and read the proposals, have you?
Yes.
Okay. And I put together just a little matrix just to kind of lay out some of the finer points to break it down a little bit. But at the end of the day, the prices weren't that different. I think that Wallace Montgomery may have had a little bit more detailed information in their proposal, a little bit more inclusive, a little bit more professional. Both had great remarks from the references I checked. So from staff's perspective, Wallace Montgomery certainly was on top as far as proposal submissions go, quality of work, detailed proposal, what they had in the submission packages for samples of their work and different things. So I'll open it back up to you guys.
I didn't read the proposals. I think that's why we hired you back, just to read proposals. And so I did read the matrix. I came to a similar conclusion that you just mentioned. Anybody else have any thoughts about it?
I read the proposals.
Okay. I was thinking you and Kevin might have.
Yeah.
I did. I took a few notes. So a couple of things that I noticed. I did like some of the information. I'll just start with Mead and Hunt. It looked like they did take some time to try and get to know some of the major issues with our community. But I was concerned that on some of them, they may have missed the mark. They were making assumptions on specific things like us wanting to divert flow of traffic.
I saw that.
That bothered me. It
Yeah.
also bothered me that, speaking of professional, there were typos, like misspelled words.
Yeah.
It just concerns me. It was nicely put together. I liked some of their graphics. It looks like they're a good team. I think we could definitely work with them. That being said, when I read the Wallace Montgomery proposal, again, beautifully put together. I like how they were very detailed in their approach. Some of the things we've already taken into effect. So also, I want to point out, if you're looking at task 1.4, draft the plan review, it says during the past several planning commission meetings, they went back and they did their homework before I appreciate that. But like discretionary task D2T, I think we've already completed most of that task for them. And if I remember right, that was a $3,500 fee that we don't need them to do. So I like how they broke it up and we can pick and choose some of the items. But that's just my opinion. So both I think are viable. I think both we could work with. My personal opinion after reading the proposals was that Wallace Montgomery was better.
Yeah, and seeing the typos immediately, since a master plan is a 10-year document that has to last, and that kind of threw them out for me when I see that.
That was a big snag for me too.
Yeah.
Also, I can't spell, so I should be more gracious on that.
That's why they put that little red line under things. So I agree with Wade's summation.
Do you have any comments, Martin?
No, I agree with what you guys are saying. I confess I also didn't read the detailed plan, so thank you for doing that, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Actually sounds like it was good that you did.
Yeah. That may have been when the staff's comment of a more detailed plan, meaning higher level proofing and less typos when we put that in the document. So. What do we do?
Okay, so reading between the lines here, I can obviously see there's a consensus. Everybody likes the Wallace Montgomery proposal and would like to work with them better. I can take that forward now as a recommendation. Typically, we don't make decisions, so there's no motion in here. I'll just, since we just talked individually about it, I think we're good to go. I can move forward with it.
Works for me.
Jay, you okay with that?
Yeah, and I think, Martin, you really are going to have to sell this or speak on behalf of it, almost like you're sponsoring it when it comes up, so that the commissioners, what the goal, I think, would be is the commissioners take your recommendation, take the reasons for your recommendation, and then just adopt it without trying to do their own review again.
Yep. Fair enough. I mean, I know that they've approved the concept, sorry, they've approved the concept and they've approved, we've approved the concept and we've approved some money in the budget, so, but I guess I'll have to just get down to the details and sell it to them. So understood.
Well, the matrix and the proposal should speak for themselves, really.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else we
Okay.
needed to get through our work session?
That's all I had laid out for today.
Any discussion before we go?
I wanted to bring up, and I can forward you this. So I was able 2 weeks ago to attend the Maryland Planning, Mastering the Master Plan Workshop. And it was really wonderful. I will send out the link for the YouTube video on that. There was a lot of good information in it. I highly recommend, it was divided into 3 sections. The first 2 sections, especially the second section, was very good. I just wanted to mention, because I know that I think the commissioners had talked about grant writing and maybe hiring a grant writer. There is several grants specifically for master plan funding. And I wanted to mention the Grants Gateway, which is specific to hazard mitigation, sea level rise, and climate change. I know during one of our work sessions or our meetings, we had talked about the lack of sustainability discussed in the prior master plan. And this could fund part or whole of the research that we need to have done in order to update our master plan on that specific part. Now, there's other grants in there that you can look at or that they could consider, but that one specifically triggered for me because I know we had talked about it.
Were you gonna send? Did you take notes too?
Yes, but that would require me to put them into an order you could read.
Oh, okay. I thought you had them on the computer already.
No, my notes are,
Oh, then no, don't worry.
they're bad.
I think a link would be great.
Yeah.
Ryan, can I ask a question, please? Yeah. Does the planning commission have a particular focus they have?
Come on up to the mic, to Wade and
Yeah, they can't hear you, unfortunately.
Does the planning commission have a particular emphasis on what they want to incorporate in the new 2021 or 2022 planning, comprehensive plan, that could, certain changes?
As of right now, what we've done is we've discussed the master plan in general and,
Okay.
and things that we may see as potential holes, things that we kind of like about it.
Okay.
And then we wanted to get more feedback before we started really putting our push on,
Okay,
right? And so
right.
we would need to know better before we can decide what is most
Of course,
important.
of
So that's
course.
kind of where we are right now.
Okay, fine, thanks.
Yes. Nobody argue with me? I said that right?
Yeah. Very good.
All right, well, so far, we are doing a great job of keeping these to 60 minutes or less. Thank you guys very much for your time. Anything else, Lexi, before I don't want to cut anybody off? Martin, we're good? All right. Don't think we have to adjourn, we'll just say goodnight, right?
Yep.
Have a good night. Thank you.
All right, see you guys.
Hey, Link, don't go anywhere.
Oh, I will.
Yeah.
Okay, good night, guys.